So what I'm doing today is I'm waxing my bullets. So these are 170 grain 30-30 bullets. So that's what I like to use is the 30-30. I've also got 150 grains as well. These ones just happen to be 170. So this is after coming out of our mold. It's the same as the last video as when we made the slugs. So this is the same thing, just using molds for the 170 grain 30 caliber bullets. So what we've got here is an old crock pot that was in the basement, not being used. So this is what we melt our wax in. So this is a mixture of beeswax and carnauba wax and some of the STP oil treatment. And I think there's a little bit of Vaseline in there as well. So there's different recipes you can find online for the feet per second of your caliber. This isn't really a mixture that you can really mess up on. And basically I'll show you is the molded bullets have got grooves in them so that it could capture the wax in the grooves. So basically we're just filling up this pan and we're going to get the wax above the very top groove, and then as it cools we'll pull them out of the wax, but the wax will stay in the grooves. So that's pretty much high enough, but I'll put in one more just for good luck. It's going to take some time for that to cool, so we'll pause it and come back. But before that, so I'll just put this back on. So one of the reasons we use this crock pot the way we do is because the flash point of wax I think is around 200 degrees. So if you were to do it on your stove or something like that, you know, you could flash all your wax to flames. So the crock pot is a very low, steady heat. We've got a little bit of water on the bottom, and as you can see, we just used some tin foil pans that we just got from Walmart. And you know, I had it like just open and it would take forever to melt the wax. So we finally figured to put a lid on it. And I put a little piece of linotype on top to hold it closed, and it's helped speed the process. Normally I keep it on high heat. It's just that the wax is already melted and it was sitting for a while, so I put it on low just so it wouldn't get too hot. So on these coming out of the mold, you can see the grooves on it and that kind of thing, and that's where the wax will get held on to there. So this is oh sorry, wrong one. This is after it's been put through the resizer and a gas check put on the bottom, and there's wax in the grooves so that the lead doesn't lead your barrel, so that it slides on the wax. And this is our loader for doing all our bullets, and right now what's on there is the resizer. I could do a really quick show you how that works. It's really quite simple as well. Get this on here, make sure it's all lined up. Okay, so these are leads that have been pulled out of the wax. So some of them are pretty funky, full of wax, kind of ugly. You just grab some gas checks. So you only need gas checks if your caliber, I think it's over 14 feet per second. So the 30-30s are quite a bit more than that. So I just hold it there with my fingers, put it on top. Once it goes through, line her up and push it. And what that does is it sizes your bullet properly and makes sure that it's 30 caliber. And it pushes the gas check on, and it cleans off all the extra wax. So once it comes out the top, and then you got yourself your waxed up bullet, and it's ready to be put in the shell. So the only thing that's going to be sticking out the shell is going to come up to right at the top there where you crimp it. So all of this is within the brass. The gas check is so that the gas doesn't flow past your bullet and out your barrel, so that the gas check keeps the gas behind your bullet and pushing it. And it's pretty handy. And you can go through a lot very quickly just pumping them through, and you got them all waxed up. So I think what we'll do is we'll just pause it while this is cooling. You can see that it's changing color a little bit. And once it's cooled, then we'll come back.
And go.
Okay, so we're back now, and the wax has gotten a lot more solid. You don't want to wait till it's completely cold, because what I found is when I waited too long, I would pull the bullet out and the wax would just not stay in the groove. So you still want it warm, and maybe a little soft, but not wet. So you see how it's come out and there's kind of wax all over it? Once we put that through the sizer, it will push all that off, so that all that's left is the wax in the grooves. And then just throw them in the bucket. It's pretty straightforward. You know, I try to get as many in this pan as I can, so I don't have to do it as many times each. But that's pretty much it. See, it's all still in the grooves, really good. So when it goes through the sizer, it leaves the wax in the groove. And then, of course, once I got all these bullets out, then I just bust up this wax and throw it back in the pan and get it melted up for the next batch of lead to get waxed up. So it's a bit of work, and it can be time consuming, but compared to the cost, the biggest cost is going to be the gunpowder. You know, I just looked at one, and there's a little bit of the groove missing of wax. This one's fine, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. It doesn't have to be perfect. But yes, the biggest cost is the gunpowder. Depends where you can get your lead. You could use the wheel weights is a very popular one. Wheel weights are a little bit soft for a rifle, but I think that it would still do just fine in a rifle. The lead I ordered online, and it was from a gun range, and they were all in ingots that someone had made. Those are ingots that we made. But the ones I got from the States were from a gun range that was mostly pistol bullets. So that lead, he said, was around 11 or 12 hardness. I'm not sure which scale, but it's, anyway. So for a rifle, you want around 15 to 17 hardness. So that's why I got the Linotype. So the Linotype is 20 or 21 hardness. So I mixed the handgun lead with the Linotype. So the handgun is around 11 or 12. And I think that's very similar to the wheel weights, is around 11 or 12. I mixed it with the Linotype, which is 20 or 21. And hopefully I've ended up with around a 15 to a 17. And I think that's pretty fair. So that's what the hardness is about on these. So I took the lead that I ordered online, and I melted it in the pot that I have outside, and then I mixed it with the handgun lead, and we made them into these ingots. So these ingots are mixed. So that's mixed with the Linotype and the handgun lead from the gun range, which is hopefully giving me around a 15 or a 17. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for cheap ammo and lots of it. So these are great. So I can just throw those in. They're already mixed, and I can make my 30-30 or any kind of rifle ammo that I want. The other thing about lead is it's fairly easy to melt. So I got this, store-bought melting pot. But the fact is that if you put a big frying pan on a fire, you could throw this in a frying pan on a fire outside and melt it. It only needs around 600, I think, degrees. So it's very possible to do when you don't have electricity. So that's one of the good things, that you can stock up on it if you have to use it later. If you don't have electricity or those kind of things, then you still can. But of course, I want to get as many done as I can now while it's easier to do. But if it does come to a time, I could take this lead with me and continue. I'll be bringing our machines with us if we need to, and we can still, and it's good for trade. You don't have lead, you aren't doing no hunting. So the hardest part is gunpowder. That's the most expensive part. So the 22 round is the cheapest round. The 9mm I think is the next cheapest. And what you'll find is the rounds that have less gunpowder cost you less money. It's not the lead and the brass so much, it's the gunpowder. So the 30-30 bullet uses anywhere from 28 to 33 grains of gunpowder. It's quite a bit. So when you buy them at the store, I'm not even sure what they cost, but when I did find out, I said there's got to be a better way. So we've made a lot of rounds, like these are all, and the other, of course, once they're used, you can reuse them. You just punch out the primer, and that's all part of the machine. It punches out your old primer, puts in a new primer, you fill it with your powder using your scale to make sure you got the correct amount. You put your lead in that we've made, don't have any handy, and you're good to go. I could pump out a couple hundred 30-30 shells, rounds, in an hour maybe. So Lori just made all of these. I think that was probably less than an hour. We were very lucky. I found a supplier that had shotgun shells that are pre-primed. So, and they were cheap. I can't even remember, man, and it was cheap. Like, I think I got 1,000 of them. So we've already made quite a few. There might be 300 left there or something. And the wads were even cheaper. The wads were cheap as borscht. I've got, I think, 5,000 wads. So the reason why I've got 1,000 shells and 5,000 wads is because we could reload them. So once we shoot these off, you save them. And then you could still melt more lead slugs for them, as long as you got your gunpowder. So that's the biggest thing. If you don't have gunpowder, you got nothing. It's good to know different types of gunpowder and what kind of load. With the gunpowder we have has got a very low load, and a different type has got quite a bit more of a load of gunpowder. So if you don't know what load that you need to put in there, that's really dangerous. It might be a thing of if you happen to cross some gunpowder out in the world and you're not sure, it's a tough one. Some gunpowders are made for pistols, and they only take a very tiny amount. Others are for rifles, and it takes quite a bit more, and they're made in a different way. So if you were to put a pistol powder in a rifle shell at the same amount of grains that a rifle needs, I think it would just explode. So, you need to get the books on them, and it will tell you every kind of gunpowder that they can think of, basically, and how much to put in for what caliber of bullet. So there's lots to learn, but just make sure you get your loads right, and if it says a max of 33 grains or something, don't go 33, don't go 34. What if your scale's wrong? What if, just keep it cool, and don't put in too much powder, because that's when you're really going to get in trouble. And don't be afraid of it either. If it says 28 to 33, 32, okay. It's all going to depend on your gun and your accuracy of your gun with the powder. but I'm not looking to get bullseyes every time. I just want lots of ammo. Okay, thank you very much and have a great day.